rest of the season.
We hand off to Herschel. There's a hole. 5, 10, 12. He's running over people. Oh, you Herschel Walker. My God almighty, he ran right through 2 men.
All right, man. So it has been a little bit since we've
been a minute.
It has. So what just out of obviously we both keep up with what's going on around the SEC when we haven't recorded and stuff. What are some things that have jumped out to you over the last few weeks? What's something?
Let me say this real quick.
We back, bitches.
Dude, no, like I don't know. I've been trying to get all the information in my head and just think about everything that's been going on. It's a lot to digest, but it's also like I feel like so much has happened, but so little has happened. You know what I mean? And so I don't know. I mean, I know the recent report I read today was that that college football is 75% sure that they're not going to have football in the fall. And I'm like, all right, there's a lot of like unanswered. What about the other 25%? Okay, does that mean spring? What does this all mean? So I don't know. I think with the combination with obviously the season being shut down, or not shut down, but season being whatever's going on with the season, plus Black Lives Matter movement with coaches. And then, obviously there's been some interesting stories with Mike Gundy and Dabo Sweeney and all that stuff, where they really shot themselves in the foot and who knows what's happened with that. And it's definitely hurt recruiting. You saw the one kid the 4 or 5 star DB flipped his commitment from Clemson. So I don't know, just taking it all in and kind of trying to figure out, like everybody else, what the hell's going on.
Yeah. I think, as far as football in the fall, here's what I've learned over the last couple months. The NCAA, the organization, the NCAA, has no say in whether football happens or not. Like it's literally each Power 5 conference gets to decide for itself if football's going to happen. And if they're going to play each other, if they're going to do just conference, what kind of championship they want to take part of. And I think most football fans, most college football fans would assume that the NCAA is going to be the one making the decisions for that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But they're 100% not. Like, it's 100% up to the conferences whether they play or not. So I think the Power 5 schools are going to have a fall season. I don't think a spring season's even in the cards.
Oh, I think it's in the cards.
No, this is why I don't think so. Let's say we play a spring season this year, right? And then they got to turn around and play a fall season the following year?
No.
So you're telling me that they're going to do a spring season, spring ball, summer, play football on schedule next year?
No, I think it's going to be like a tier, or not tier, but like staggered as far as I think if we do spring this year, then you're going to go to a delayed season next year to maybe winter. And then the next year after that, it'll fall back into the fall. I don't know. Like,
I think there's going to be some issues there because we're talking – I mean, these are amateur –
well, you're talking about a lot of issues there. Not only like, first of all, just think about if they do let's say they do college football in the spring. Think about how loaded we will be with content in the spring. Like, I don't know what's going to happen, like with the NBA or with all these other teams, but let me ask you this first. Would you rather have college football in the fall with limited schedules, limited fans at like maybe even if they're going to allow fans at 20% capacity, and you play kind of like I think as far as the SEC, it would be cool because I saw like what the schedule would look like is essentially that you're adding two teams from the other conference or from the West or from the East to the schedule. So Florida would play their normal slate in the East, and then their West matchups are LSU and Ole Miss, and then they would play Texas A&M and Arkansas.
Yeah.
So I'd be cool with that. But my thing is I think college football, more than anything else, more than any other professional sport, college sport, I think college football is at its best and most affected by fans in the seats, whether it's either ticket sales and revenue and just pure atmosphere. Like how big is, like, I don't think there's a sport where home field advantage is means as much as an impact as it does in college football. So I'm asking you, would you rather have a half-ass season in the fall or a normal season in the spring?
Man, honestly, I would rather have a normal season in the spring, but
Yeah.
it's not about like at this point, it's not going to be about what is going to be the best product because we're entering into the first year of this discussion of players being able to make money off their names and likeness, right?
Yep.
And if you couple that with them playing in the spring and potentially turning around and playing a season as soon as, the winter, you're talking about a turnaround of 2 seasons within less than a year.
And you're talking about, think about how big of a difference that impacts recruiting.
Yeah, and it's such a thing. It's such a, throughout college football, they've always been like, the reason they say we can't make a bigger playoff. We can't extend the season. We can't, that's always the argument for bigger playoff, right? The season's going to go forever. We don't want football covering 2 semesters. If we play football in the spring this year, next year, they'll either have to play 2 seasons within just a few months' time, or football will be played in both semesters. And you couple that with the discussions of what it's going to look like for players to make money off of their likeness and image and everything. Dude, you're going to have some people. I mean, we already see this, and we can talk about transfers in a minute, but we already see lawyers who are super crafty and figuring out how to get these guys eligible and all that stuff. You don't think there's going to be lawyers step in and go, hey, there's a potential to make money here if we say that they're overworking these kids, making them do 2 seasons that close together and things like that. So
you think for the greater good of the future product, they bite the bullet this year for a diluted product?
I think so. And I think the other thing is that, dude, Athens, Georgia does not survive a fall without the money.
A lot of college towns don't.
Tuscaloosa? What's there?
Well, think about, you could name, we could go down the list. I mean, any SEC. Think about how much revenue an SEC football program brings in.
And that's like
Starkville, Mississippi.
Yeah. And that's like when Ivy League canceled, people were like, oh, first one down. It's like, yeah, no. But those schools don't make their money off. They don't make their bones on college football. Yep. SEC is playing football in 2020, period. Like, they cannot survive without it. For people who don't know, because I always have to explain this to people, football makes so much money that it was played in the fall originally because that money that generated off of football was used to fund other sports.
Yep.
So you're talking about without the money from football in high school and college levels, other sports may not even have the funds.
Bro, here's an example. A $400 ticket for the same seat and field position-wise in the Swamp is a $5 in the Ivy League football game.
Yeah.
So, like, it's just different. And I think I'm all for conference schedule only and then playoffs.
This is what I think. I think that, and I told you this when this first started being discussed, it's got to be conference only. Every Power 5 champion makes it into a playoff, and then there's 3 at-large bids from the Power 5 conferences.
I still don't think they expand playoffs, by the way.
They have to.
I don't think they do.
They have to, because here's the thing, Parker. All right.
Yeah, but think about it this way. If you're doing all Power 5 schools, and by the way, Notre Dame said they play in the ACC.
Yeah. Okay.
So all Power 5 schools, and then you tack a couple extra games on. So, like, for example, like Florida would play Texas A&M and Arkansas. Like, Arkansas, obviously, first year under Sam Pittman, I'm not expecting too much. But, like, think about first, that would be cool. Felipe Franks playing against the Gators. But also Texas A&M, like, how fun would that be to see Jimbo Fisher and Dan Mullen? Like, and then I don't know. I haven't looked at the other SEC schedules and work out. But, like, I feel like, and even with the Big Ten, they're going to add more to the schedule. Like, I just think you're going to get a better, like, I feel like you get a better sense of who's in the playoffs, because a lot of times, a lot of these non-conference games are just a bunch of bullshit.
I agree. But here's the thing is that one of the reasons, in my opinion, that college football has been able to go without an extended playoff is because the vast number of teams that are involved. And football is not like basketball. Teams in football can play basketball can play back-to-back games and it not hurt the players, travel and stuff not affecting as much. Football's different. Because of the number of teams in football, they've delayed doing an expanded playoff. If we condense college football down to the Power 5 conferences, that argument goes out the window. And now, let's say this year we do conference-only schedules and playoffs, right? And we know if it's conference-only schedules, only the Power 5 schools are going to have a chance of making it in.
Look, I will say this.
Okay.
I get your argument, but
there's going to be no non-conference games. Like Clemson's not going to get a chance to prove how good it is against an SEC school or a Big Ten school.
Yeah, but what was their schedule like anyway? I forgot.
I understand, but I'm saying the teams that are on the bubble that you're like, they look really good, but who have they played aren't going to have those games to show that. So you're going to talk about there's 5 conferences, only 4 teams. Well, one conference is going to get left out, right?
Yeah.
Which is normal. We see that. But what if there's a situation where they think 2 SEC schools should get in again, which happens often?
Yeah.
So now 2 of the Power 5 conferences are going to get left out, and there's going to
But
be.
you still have championship games.
I know that, but I just think that it is. I just think that.
I mean, I'm all for a
The
5-team.
smaller the field of potential playoff teams, the more likely that the field expands.
I'm for a testing out this year a 5-team automatic bid Power 5 with a 1 at-large bid.
So a 16 field?
16 field.
Bro, I just don't know what the hesitancy is to go to 8.
But that's the thing. I feel like you have bias because you're using this situation for your extended playoff conversation that we've had
But
for 2 years.
But I'm not a fan of an 18 playoff.
But yeah, you're a fan of like a 20-team playoff.
No, 16. 16. Don't over-exaggerate.
Yeah, but
16.
I'm telling you, if they're going to
I'm just saying it doesn't make sense to me with conference-only schedules to have a 4-team playoff.
Yeah, but it also doesn't make sense to do. Why would you? I don't think this is not the time to add more playoff. This is not the time to add more playoff games. Like I feel like it's necessary to add 5 at-large bids. Or
I think it is because there's going to be money missing from fans.
okay,
And this is a way to generate more money.
but I'm saying, okay. But my point is I would get the point for an 18 playoff if we weren't gonna if we were just playing whatever everyone's conference schedule and not adding games to it, but we are adding games to it. You see what I'm saying? So like if Florida was just gonna play 8 games,
Yeah.
right, or 10 games, then I'd be like, all right, fine. But they're gonna still play like 10 or 12 games, which is a regular season for them.
So
Plus,
you're thinking we're going to have a better idea of who the best team from each conference is.
correct, because think about it this way: Clemson always drops someone to a weird ACC team, right? They're gonna play solid competition. Or I mean, the ACC is not. I mean, ACC's ass. Don't get me wrong, but think about it. Like Clemson could easily drop a game to Miami, or like Miami and Florida State have talent. It's just coaching or whatever. But like I'm saying, you're gonna, even for the worst Power 5 conferences like Pac-12 and the ACC, there's the level of competition is going to be higher because Oregon's not going to be playing some booty cheek team from nowhere, and like teams that like, for example, like a Florida who are, even if you're going to the SEC like every year, like the teams who are in the East who don't have to match up against Alabama every year, they're like, thank God we don't have to play Alabama, right?
Yeah.
This year, you're not going to have that excuse. Like, obviously, some teams won't play Alabama, but still, some teams will have to play a Texas A&M or an Auburn or an Alabama or an LSU. Like, they're still going to have another game that they're like, ooh, like, that's going to be a tough one. And it's really going to test them. And that's what I'm saying. I think that 6 teams – I think every Power 5 team champion should be in the playoff. Automatic bid. And I think 1 at large. Whether okay. And I think that's like a – I don't know. I mean,
the number 1 seed gets a bye. That's just
are 1 play 6. But I mean, I've always been in the 1 and 2 get a bye, and then you have the 4 games, and then like I always like rewarding the top seeds, but that's kind of my feel on it.
So this kind of leads me to something I've been thinking about, and I actually heard them talking about this on another SEC podcast that I listened to, about the idea of, like I said, clearly the NCAA doesn't have the power to decide whether football happens. What it is that the conferences agree to use the NCAA as a third party to give them a rule set, to be a third party to make decisions on transfers, on suspensions, things like that. So they can say it's non-biased, right? So the SEC is not making decisions on whether the SEC followed the rules. That's what the NCAA's job is. How long, if this year, if let's say other conferences cancel their seasons, push them to spring, and the Power 5 teams decide to play, how long till the Power 5 just says, forget the NCAA, we're not going to play all these other conferences. We're going to be our own league and have a championship, our own thing. And when that happens, what does that look like for the rest of college football?
I don't think that ever happens.
What?
But
I definitely do.
You think the NCAA is like, see ya?
No, the NCAA doesn't say see ya. I think the Power 5 schools.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm saying that they're saying, like, holla, we don't need you.
Yeah, eventually I think Power 5 schools will do that.
I don't think so.
For football,
anyways. I don't think so, because I think if you're leaving football, I think number one, it can't just be just football. And I feel like once you make an enemy of the NCAA, you're an enemy. And I just feel like there's no turning back from that. I also feel like that each conference is more dependent on the NCAA than you think. And I do feel like the NCAA has kind of given that power to the conferences this year, as far as do what you want. Like, I'm just trying to think, like, there's more. I think the NCAA has, obviously we know the NCAA has a lot of power, but I think the NCAA has more power than we even know.
No,
like,
the power that the NCAA has, it's not like the NBA, right? The NBA owns all the teams, their franchises. It's like McDonald's, right? That's how the NBA works. The NBA will let people start franchises in cities, but the NBA has all the power on where those franchises are, all that stuff, right? Yeah. The NCAA is not that. That's not how the NCAA works. The NCAA doesn't decide to start a new.
Well, I'll say this. If you want me to, like, hypothetically answer the question as far as what does it look like, I'll tell you what it looks like. I think you're splitting the map into, like, 5 sections, and it's just, like, south, north, like, the middle, and then, like, northwest, north. Like, I think you're going to have, like, but the problem with that is like, think about all the teams that, like, you're going to have, like, Clemson, Florida, Georgia, Alabama, LSU, Florida State, Miami. Like, I think you're going to have all those teams in the same conference.
You think the conferences will change?
Yes. I feel like when the NCAA is gone, conferences will change. I feel like probably playoffs will be expanded. I just feel like the problem with the NCAA is, and I think the reason that it won't ever happen is because I feel like there's 2 tiers of the spectrum. You either have, like, kind of like, honestly, like, kind of like what's going on now. Like, you either have, like, total regime, like, too much power and abusive power, or you have, like, the wild fucking West and people just do whatever they want. Like, like, where does that, like, it all sounds good in theory, but, like, where, you know what I mean? Like, what's stopping, who, because at the end of the day, what's going to end up happening is, even if the NCAA is gone, let's say there is organization and structure within the new setting. Mm-hmm. There's still going to be people that come that take over that league, or whatever they want to call it. They rise to power and they abuse their power. Yeah, that's human nature, bro. Like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what system it's in.
Yeah. Well, I don't think it's going to be over. I don't think it'll happen over an abuse of power. I think it's going to be that the Power 5 conferences are going to feel like they can